But the content and the community, man, you start leading it with the right content, the community follows.
Welcome back to For Entrepreneurs by Entrepreneurs. I am Eric Verdi, episode 6. And with us today is Tristan Ahumada, the CEO of Lab Coat Agents. He's got a huge online following, a huge online community on Facebook. Primarily, he's got a couple of different sites, a couple of different groups. So I want to have him on today. If you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, you've got to connect with your audience. You got to inspire your audience. You've got to grow a group around what you do to move your passion forward. I met Tristan about a year and a half ago at an event, Hyperfast Agent by Kerry Shaw. I was asked to be on a panel there. Tristan was one of the speakers there, did a great job. It was keynoted by Billie Jean. Billie Jean is marketing, and I'm sure you've heard of Grant Cardone, 10X. So they were at this event too. So I got to meet Tristan, and he was awesome guy, bubbly, great energy. And when I started this podcast, I was like, who can I have on that knows how to grow an audience on social media, on Facebook? So I immediately thought Tristan, reached out to me about mutual friend Jay Lieberman, hooked us back up again. And Tristan's here for episode 6. So Tristan, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it, man.
Dude, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here, first of all. So thanks for having me, and let's get right into it, dude.
Yeah, give us your backstory, man. Who are you? Like, how did you come up with Lab Coat Agents? Give us, your personal
I'll give you
backstory.
who I am now versus who I was before, right? So, I'm a Fortune 500 consultant. So I consult some of the most amazing companies you've heard out there. One being Facebook, right? Who knew? Obviously, what we've done with communities has helped us with that. So they come back to us. And so I'm also a real estate agent, and I run teams in Los Angeles and Ventura County, and I am a part owner in a brokerage out there. And I also own a few other tech companies throughout the United States. But mainly now you're seeing me lead our community, and that community is built with 120,000 real estate agents. It's the largest community of agents in the world. And we built that through Facebook. And so that's what I wanted to talk about. And if you go back to when I created this, it was back in 2014, but the idea stemmed from before. And it comes from a passion. And so when people say, well, what should I do? Right? And you and I were talking about this a little bit. And I go, look, if your passion is as easy as kayaking, or you love cats, or you love dogs, or you like making pies, whatever the hell you love doing, that's an indication already as to what type of community you should be running, right? So I always say, start with your passion. If you go back to why I started this, it was very niche, right? Not uncommon to what Jim Collins says in Built to Last. He says, look, start with your niche. If you're creating a company, you have to be good at one thing. You have to be great at one thing. It's the same thing with us. When I started this group at the time, I was only great at one thing. And I was going around the nation speaking for Realtor.com. And it was about online lead conversion, specifically Realtor.com leads. So that can't get any more niche, dude. Right? Buyer leads, online leads, specifically for Realtor.com. And so I created a process for that. And I got so great at it that they said, hey, why don't you speak for us? And so where I was going, I was getting the same questions over and over. It's like, how do you do this? What tech do you use? How do you automate? And I'm like, great. Here, let me do it for you. And I said, well, maybe I should create a blog out of this or a community out of this. And my wife suggested that I do Facebook because I really wasn't into Facebook much at the time. I'd post here and there, and I didn't know anything about groups. And she's like, look, groups is new, test it out. And I'm like, okay. So I went all in, and I was the first one posting. Only one posting for months. It was like crickets, man.
So you were a Lab Coat agent at the time.
I said, look, I sat down with a friend of mine who was also an employee, still with me. His name's Jake Fry. We sat in a room together, and I go, hey, Jake, look, I've got this idea for a community. I want to be kind of like scientific. I want to break down the process. I want to do this and that. And so together we came up with the name Lab Coat Agents. And he came up with the slogan, which was exploring the science of real estate. Now with that, what happened was we already had an idea, right? This was now built in. We have a brand, right? We created a brand out of this. And we're like, okay, we're going with our passion, number one. We have a brand. We know what we're looking for. We have the vision. We have the mission, right? We want to help as many agents as possible. And yes, I did envision it being 100,000 when I built it, right? So I did envision it. So people are always asking, well, what if I don't envision it? Look, it's fine. You can have a small group and still be absolutely amazing. I see some groups that are 10,000, 2,000, 1,000 that are amazing. The amount of content they drive and the amount of engagement in these smaller groups is pretty powerful, right? When you have the attention of people like you do in groups and these communities, all of a sudden it changes the dynamic of a business, right? And so when I look back and I say, well, great, we got a passion, we understood it. How did we define this group? And I look back and I say, okay, well now that I've done it, let's go back and define the types of groups there are. And so I'm going to define them here for you. Type 1 is a special interest group. Like I told you, kayaks, cats, pies, special interest. Number 2 is community type oriented. So you've seen these community type oriented groups that are for cities or counties or areas. They're talking about a specific area, right? They give information about it. They do news, all that good stuff. Then type 3, business groups. The one I can think of, and I don't know why it comes to mind right now, man, is Peloton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've seen the commercials for Peloton.
Oh, yeah.
So you jump in the Peloton group. I don't even own a Peloton and I want one, but you go inside the Peloton group and it's like, it's its own living tribe, but it's a business. What a beautiful way to use a community for retention and to motivate others to jump on and buy a damn Peloton bike, right? So you should take a look at that one. That one's amazing. That's type 3 business. And type 4 is what I would call like our groups, our community, Lab Coat Agents. It's a group of people that have the same beliefs and standards, giving advice and finding a solution to something. So it could be like a movement type of a group. And those are the 4 types that I've broken it down to. Look, there's no book on this. Maybe I'll write one.
Well, you should.
Yeah. And just I broke it down for you there, and this is just from pure experience. The next thing I did now, if I'm reverse engineering this, is branding. I wanted to know what the objective was. What is your objective with the group? And for me, it was super simple, and it can be super simple for you too. Mine was for helping people break down this process of online lead generation, right? And that's where the brand, that's where that slogan came from, exploring the science of real estate. I was thinking of online lead generation. But then it ended up meaning something completely different, right? It engulfed the whole industry, which is awesome. And so then I thought colors. Well, what kind of colors do I want logo-wise? And I envisioned having like a little Labrador, Lab Coat Agents, right, with a coat. And the colors wanted to be like yellow or red or orange. And so I went with that, and I went to Fiverr. Mm-hmm. And Fiverr created our logo. They screwed up really badly the first time, and I just went with it anyway. They gave me a dog in an inspector coat with a spyglass, wrong colors, and I'm like, all right, who cares? Let's just go with it. But look, branding is important. And when you're creating this community, people just stop with Facebook. And it's so much more than Facebook. We've created a true community that lives outside of Facebook. And that's what you want to do because, dude, if anything ever happens to Facebook, we're still set, right? And this is where I want to emphasize, when you're building a community, think outside of Facebook. And a friend of mine told me this when I was building it at the very beginning. His name's Bill Sperry at realtor.com. He said, look, why don't you go pick up the name on YouTube and make sure you do a Facebook business page. Get it on Instagram. Go to Twitter, LinkedIn, and now go get it on YouTube too, right? That's what we did after. And lastly, he said, make sure you buy the domain name and a few other things attached to that domain name. So Lab Coat Agents, whatever, sit down and think and see what else you could do with this and buy that too. So that's what we did. That's what I actually did before I launched it. I bought those things. So then we had these assets, which I think is important because people don't often think that far in advance, right? Then when it comes down to the community, which is the next step here, is really building the right team. When I started this, I knew I needed help. So the guy that I brought in, which is Jacob Fry, who helped me do the slogan, I said, man, you're going to be our first admin. And I don't even know what that means. So, just help me out. And then I brought in my friend Steve Passanelli, who's the marketing director, CMO for BombBomb, if you've heard of BombBomb. Mm-hmm. And he got super busy at the time. So he said, hey, I can't help you anymore. But I know this guy, his name is Nick Baldwin. And I think he might work well with you. And obviously, right, we became co-founders together once we made it an LLC. But he wasn't involved at the beginning. It was Steve Passanelli, me, and Jacob. So I built this team, and I built it around the people that started engaging more and started giving in the community. And so they stood out because they started posting more, they started commenting more. And look, I'm going to show you. This is more than Eric. This is more than just a podcast. Is it video as well? So
it is. We're doing both. We have an audio and a video version. The video will be on YouTube and Facebook. So go ahead.
I'm going to go in and show you Facebook really quick. And for those of you who are tuning in audio, I'll explain to you what I'm doing here. I'm going into our Facebook community, which is a Facebook group. And I'm showing the insights. It's under group insights. If you own a community or you're an admin in a group, you're going to have a button that says group insights. You click on it. And once you go into group insights, you see on the back end, you have a lot of choices here. You have more growth details, more engagement details, more admin and moderator details, and more member details. So if you click on more member details, you're going to see who the top contributors are. Right? And you can see how many comments, how many posts, and all that good stuff. Now, if you're on your app, on the phone itself, it'll give you a lot more people, by the way, Eric. On the desktop, it only gives you 10, right? You can only see 10 here. But let's say you started the community, Eric, and you're like, well, let's see who's contributing the most. So then I would look to see, well, Abraham Walker, and look, I know Abraham, he's an awesome guy. But if I didn't, I'd call them up and like, hey man, this is what I'm trying to do. Do you think you can consistently contribute to the community? Right, which is always the next step. It's like have an idea that is put on paper saying, okay, Abraham, I'm going to call Abraham. I'm going to call Jorge here. I'm going to call Saul and Pavel. And I'm going to throw in some ladies here. I'm going to throw in Dawn and Judy and Ella. Right? You see here, those are our top contributors. For those of you listening in, I just went through our top contributors there. And I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey guys, individually, this is what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to grow the community. And I really need people like you because you're highly engaged, but I need you to post 3 times a week, which doesn't seem to be a problem because it looks like you're posting almost every day, right? Mm-hmm. But post 3 times a week. And throughout the day, if you've got 10 minutes, can you do me a favor? And in those 10 minutes, go through and just comment and like posts that don't have any love, right? And also, do me a favor, and if you can go do a live from the community once or twice a week. Right now, I have standards, Eric. That's the biggest reason most communities fail. They don't have any standards that they set from the very beginning when they bring in these people. Right? And now they're going to flounder around. So you go to engagement and you can take a look at this. It's almost 100,000 active members every 28 days. That's some pretty powerful numbers, dude. You don't see that anywhere in all of real estate. We own the eyes and ears of the community for the whole industry, right? That's insane, that engagement. And then people always ask, well, what days are good to post? Well, it's kind of tough, but you can see weekdays are great. Right? It's almost even, right? Days wise.
Yep. And look, so Tristan is showing a graph right now.
Yeah. For those of you that are tuning in through audio, I went through the engagement section and I'm showing what days are great to post. It looks Monday through Friday is great. Wednesday and Thursday are the highest. But if you go in here, and you take a look at, let's take a look at Wednesday and Thursday, which are the highest, right? I'm going to click on Wednesday, and Wednesday's telling us that if we post around, that looks like 7 a.m. to
7
about,
to 10.
yeah, 7 to 10 a.m. is great. And then again in the evening around 5. And if I go to Thursday, let's see if that changes. Thursday is pretty high, man. But we also have to take into consideration that right now, these numbers may be skewed because according to Facebook, from my conversation with them last week, they're up 70% in engagement as a whole, as a company. And that's pretty high, right? So let's take a look at a Friday. You can always see, if you look at every single day, you can see 2 highlighted posts or sections, right, Eric? Morning and evening. Every single day, morning and evening, right? Morning, everybody wakes up, and what the hell do? They roll out of bed, they go to the bathroom, they grab their phone, and they go on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, right? And then what happens at the end of the day? They're winding down, they go on social media, right? Those are pretty powerful numbers, man. And look, I can tell you, because we have 100,000 people that are giving us these numbers, they're very accurate.
Right.
This is actually a great amount of people. We can tell you that this is how people function as a whole in the United States because it's such a large number. When companies roll out stats and they go, well, let me go and do a poll on a little community. The polls that you see, Eric, they're about 1,000 to 3,000 people.
Right.
This is a poll of 100,000. And that's how powerful that is. So I wanted to show you that, and which goes back to what I was telling you. The numbers behind your community matter because it also tells you who's engaging. And that's how you talk to the people that could possibly be moderators for you. But you have to have those things straightened out from the beginning, which is, okay, admins, moderators.
So tell me a couple.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So a couple questions here. I know I have, and I'm sure our audience has too. You know, you've joined groups before. I've joined groups. You have a phenomenal group. Is yours, do you have to get accepted in? I know there are some groups that are open groups and some groups that are closed group.
I decided from the very beginning that it was going to be a closed group.
Okay.
So you have to go in and request to join, or you have to be invited to join.
Okay.
Right?
And then you get the rules of it, basically the rules of engagement once you get accepted, right?
You got it. As soon as you request to join or you get an invitation to join, Eric, what happens is you have to answer a couple of questions. There's a limit to 3 questions on Facebook if you wanted to ask. That's the maximum. And then one of those questions that we're asking is for your email address. Because one thing I learned along the way, and I wish I would have learned this at the very beginning, Eric, but I didn't, was that we needed to live outside of Facebook just in case, right? Because I've heard horrible stories about people's accounts being blocked or people losing groups. And I'm like, you know what? That can happen to us, even if we're the largest, right? That can happen to us. So I started doing things like that, which I'll go over in a little bit. But when you're asking questions and you want to grow this outside and you want to create a newsletter, you want to create a blog, and you want to keep people updated as to when webinars are happening or Facebook Lives are happening, make sure to capture their information. If they're willingly giving it to you, like an email address, something along those lines, I definitely highly suggest that you do that. Eric, I just noticed we have the same mic. It's so cool.
The Yeti?
Yeah, dude,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Nice. I love that, dude. So when you're communicating with your moderators, make sure that it's done through Facebook Messenger. We've tried WhatsApp. We've tried texting. They're already on Facebook. So just create a separate Facebook moderator group, right? And then just communicate back and forth with them. Say, hey, guys, I need your help here. I need some love on this post. Hey, guys, I'm going live in a little bit. Can you please share it? Just things like that.
A question for you. Is there a rule of thumb with how many members in your group to how many moderators you try to have? When you have 100 members, you need 1 moderator. Is there a rule, or is that just kind of, okay?
It just, you know what? No, there isn't, only because you saw the engagement there. We go up and down between 300,000 posts, likes, and comments every 28 days to up to just a little over 500,000. So it varies. And you see during November, December, it goes down to like high twos.
Mm-hmm.
And then January, like it skyrockets to just over 500,000, right? And so right now, what happened during COVID-19, at the very beginning, it was over 500,000, right? And now there are so many Facebook groups being created, right? That everybody's attention is being spread and we're down to 330, right? So it's an up and down. And so as long as I cover the 300,000 with the amount of moderators, I usually say, look, for every 10,000 people that you bring on, have about 10 moderators, right? And it's going to be up and down on that number only because sometimes you bring the most amazing moderators and sometimes you don't, right? And there's two different types of moderators. There's the ones who post continually, comment, post, like, and then there's ones that are behind the scene that are just deleting all of the crap that gets posted on there. And then I've noticed that usually they don't mix. It's usually you post and like and comment, and usually you just delete, 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 delete. Very rarely do you get one that does both, right? So when I bring in people, I let them know, hey, look, I identify them because you see who's deleting all this stuff, right? Who's reporting it. It's very, very apparent on our end. So I'm like, ooh, this guy would be great at catching all the crap that goes on. Hey, Eric, dude, you're catching everything that goes on. Would you want to be a moderator, man? All you have to do is just continually delete stuff and here are the benefits, right? Then I tell you the benefits. And then if you're on the other end, hey, man, I continually see you posting and commenting and liking. Would you like to be a moderator? And this is what you have to do. So that's part of the guidelines, right? So then we go into content. Let's go into content and community. Here's where you have to pay attention to what gets the most engagement in the group. And you have to be careful what you allow in there. It's usually, if you post enough as the leader in the group, people will catch that tone and they'll start seeing that culture, right? If you don't post enough and you don't take care of the community, what happens is it starts taking a life of its own and it's going to die out because it's a whole bunch of crap or it's a whole bunch of everything. There's no identity, right? And so one way we can do that is we can go to the back end where I showed you where it said group insights. We can go to the back end and check, well, which posts, it goes through hundreds, which post has gathered the most attention, which has been seen the most, which one has been liked the most, which one has the most comments, right? And then we can determine, well, maybe I should do a Facebook Live on that since that got 4,000 likes, right? So that's how we determine some of our content as well. And you can see that when somebody does something great like that, it's important to reach out to them and be like, Eric, hey man, that was an awesome post that you did. I really appreciate you contributing to our community. And so it's important for us and for you when you're building these communities to identify who your top, depending on the size of your group, but your top 10, your top 50, or your top 100 contributors are. Because that's also where you're going to find your admins. And that's also when you post something or you need help, you know you can always rely on this 100 to blow it up for you, right? So it's important to outline that on an Excel sheet or your database. Like for us now, I use ActiveCampaign to continually throw out our emails. We use ConvertKit and ActiveCampaign. Those are the two that we use. ConvertKit's not as sexy as MailChimp. You can't design all this cool stuff on it, but I like a lot more words, right? It goes right to the point, goes less into spam, easy for us. Yeah, that's part of our newsletter thing. But the content in the community, man, you start leading it with the right content, the community follows.
So what's the difference between a page and a group?
So two differences. Group, you can have people comment in there. You can post. They can post, right? They can engage. In a page, what usually happens, is only the business posts and the rest of the people engage in that post. In the group, it feels to the community like it's their community because they can post and they can drive thoughts. They can drive the content, right? And in the page, we have both, by the way. in the page, the cool thing is right after we're done with our webinars, because we run them live through the page into the group.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't do that and just ran this, like what you and I are doing right now, you can throw this into the page, put $15 behind it, right? And then target your audience or target a specific area. And now all of a sudden you're getting a few thousand views, right? And one thing that Facebook just added, which you may not know, is two things. One is stars. So it's a way for the consumer, in this case, the people who love your page, right? To kind of give back to you, saying, because the stars cost money. So Eric, you're going to buy stars, and for 100 stars, it's going to cost you $1, but they don't sell them by $1. They sell them by, I think, $20. So now when you see me go live on Lab Coat Agents on the business page, we just got this turned on a week and a half ago.
Okay.
So you can give me stars, and that's kind of you giving me back. I mean, a star is a penny, right? And I'm sure Facebook takes 30% of it. I didn't read. I just said yes.
Right.
Here's my tax identification number. Here's everything. I didn't read the rest of it, but it's a penny, and so they'll take a chunk. But that's one way for people to give love to you, showing that they really care, right? Stars. And then the other thing they added is very similar to YouTube. When you're watching a YouTube video, you can see that there's an ad in there,
pop in.
right? Now they just turned that on for us because we have so much engagement. We can turn that on for every video that we do on our page. And so if it's watched enough, Facebook will pay us, which is crazy, right?
That's awesome.
So that's a good question.
If you're growing a community, growing a group, you have to have you have side businesses, right? You have side ways to monetize that group, or you just, most people, most business owners, when they're growing a group, they want some sort of outcome or income from that group. Yes, it's great to have funny cat videos, or a business group, or a belief and standards group. This goes back, Tristan, to what either 2 points that you said very early on that I 100% agree with. Is I've interviewed over 215 entrepreneurs now. The ones that are successful have a passion. Okay. And you've said that you have a passion for what you're doing, or who you're helping. The successful ones have that passion. The second one is you're great at one thing. And I truly believe that. So if you're growing a group, you're growing it. What is the reason behind growing the group?
Well, dude, for me, it was completely different.
Okay.
You can call me stupid, not you, but people. I did it just because I wanted to help people. In no way did I ever think I was going to monetize this at the beginning. I just thought, let's grow this. And I was thinking, let's grow the influence that I have. That's it. Because the more influence I have, the more I can help people, because I'm tired of people getting coached by people who don't know what the hell is going on out there. Mm-hmm. Why don't they just listen to me? Because I know exactly what I'm doing, because I'm extremely successful at this one thing, right? That's what drove it. I'm like, I'm tired of hearing, who the hell is this person over here telling that doesn't even make sense. Right. That's what drove it. Now, when I brought in Nick Baldwin, he said, dude, did you know we can monetize this? I'm like, what? I'm like, how? This is 8 months in. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, let me explain to you what I've seen in other groups, right? And groups were new at the time. So I was like, okay, show me. He's like, well, there's affiliates, right? That's the way I've seen some people monetize it. And maybe we could just play with that. So I'll go into monetization, and then I'll go into growth, only because I usually touch on growth first, but you brought up monetization. I didn't think about it, but once I did, we had to test things out. And so I don't want you guys to fail. So I failed through it so that you guys don't have to if you're going to build these communities.
Right.
And it's easy to go and get an affiliate, but it's so tough to track, because let's say I'm talking to Eric, and Eric sells this amazing product for real estate agents. And he says, let's do an affiliate, Tristan. I'll give you $20 for every person that signs up. My product's only $100. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I've got, at the time, 10,000 members. let's do this. And the thing is, they'll hear it in our community, right? Because we drive social media for the industry. And then they'll go sign up at a trade show, or they'll go sign up because their friend told them, or they'll go sign up because they found it somewhere else and they were ready at that time, right? But the first place they heard it was with us. And so it becomes a challenge because we're helping this company grow massively. And look, this is where my mistake is, Eric. We've made companies that were zero to multi-million, like you would not imagine amounts. And we get nothing, right? Zero, an affiliate of like $100 or 1,000. And maybe we did well for a month or two, but after that, right? So we gave them this initial launch. And so what I'm telling you is affiliates are good, but they're hard to track. So we switched over eventually to ads, what we call advertising or sponsorship. And depending on the legalities of what some companies can or can't do, they'll either call it sponsorship, which most do, but when you're talking about some companies, they don't. They like to call it ad spend or advertising. Then you can do it. So I think that was, when we got to that point, we're like, well, this is way better, right? Because I can say, Eric, this is cool. I love your affiliate, but we just don't do that. Unfortunately, here are our choices. If you want to work with us, it costs this much a month. It's a 6-month to a year contract. And this is what we do for you in the community. We'll do webinars. We'll send out your information on newsletters. We'll do social posts of us using the product, right? This is what we can do for you. And you can call up these other 7 companies that have done this with us over the last 2 years, and they'll tell you why they're still with us, right? And so I just need you, Eric, to understand that you need to participate in the community if you want this to work. Because if you think that it's just us without you participating, this isn't going to work, right? So we set the expectations and we tell them this is how much it costs per month. So we no longer do affiliates. This gives us a more consistent revenue plan, and I can hire employees, right, based on this. And I can make sure that we're taking care of all of our sponsors correctly, and we can grow with this. Now, all of a sudden, I'm running a business, right? Now, all of a sudden, this group is worth valued at 7 million, right? Why? Because we have a consistent source of revenue and because we have massive influence in social media. So, that's what we really gravitated to. And what we saw come out of this, if you do this right, is you have other opportunities. One, you'll have companies come to you and say, Eric, you're doing amazing on social. Are you guys for sale by any chance? Can we buy you, right? Because we're missing that arm.
Right.
And so that's an opportunity, right? Which we've been approached by a lot of companies. And then the other approach is this, which is ownership. Some companies come in and they're like, hey, we've got this amazing idea. We don't have the money, but what if you can take, 5, 10, 15, 20% of our company, help us grow it. And you can own 20% of it, right? So that has also been an opportunity. And that's how, in the beginning, when I introduced myself, I said, look, I'm a consultant for Fortune 500 companies, but I also own tech all throughout, right? And that's why, right?
So you own the eyeballs and the engagement, which is really the key, which is awesome. That's awesome. So you built your community up. You come in with a passion, who you want to help, how you want to help, the type of people you're attracted to or want to be attracted to, or you're leading with a passion. You engage, you get moderators, you grow to have a community that your community, I'm sure you're in there engaging, doing videos. I see you're doing webinars and conferences, but probably most of the posts are from members and moderators. Is that correct at this point?
Yeah, now, most of them are.
Right.
I try to do anywhere between 2 to 5 a day, right? I try to do minimum 2. And then I go in there and I comment and like on different things.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. That's how it looks like. And now at this point, we're hosting during this period, we're doing about 4 webinars a day, right? Okay. So we're inundating. We were ready for this. So now when we're coming out of this, we're going to even be bigger than we were before, because day one, we were already ready. So we beat every company out there. We beat them to this. So we were already turning and churning all of the education for the industry day one.
I love it, Tristan. I love it, man.
So let me talk about growth, because I think that's probably one thing that we missed here that I think people want to know. And I've broken it down into different parts to this, because growth can come from different ways. And look, I may be missing one here, Eric, but this is the way that we've done it. All right. Number one was organically, right? As we started posting and giving the right content, people are like, wow, this is a very cool place. I mean, you're going to have to find people that say this is a terrible place as well, and they'll leave. That's fine. But the ones that like it will invite others. So what I found is, once I identified who the people that were posting good content was, like I showed you at the beginning, I went to them and I said, guys, I want to grow this and I want to bring you in as moderators, but I need you to also invite all of your friends, right? And one thing we did right was bring in the right people at the very beginning. One of those was Regina Brown. She's out of San Diego. She was one of my first moderators after Steve Passanelli left. And she went through her whole friends list, and I think she was already maxed out at 5,000. And more than half of them were real estate agents. And Facebook didn't have rules and guidelines then as to how many people you would bring in and would stay. Now they do.
Right.
She went through all of her friends and said, boom, you're in the group. So she gave us this massive amount of people at the very beginning once I brought her in. And so we saw and we're like, that's a brilliant idea, right? So now one of the strategies that we have when we build communities at the very beginning, we took that and we say, well, guys, look, you're on the ground floor of this, Eric. We're going to build a community, but I need so much from you from the very beginning. And that's this. I need you to invite, and depending on the group, okay, Eric, if it's open to a lot more people, it'll be a lot easier. If it's about pies, it's a lot easier, right? If it's about insurance agents that sell homeowners insurance, it's going to be a lot smaller, right? So let's just say it's a lot more open, and I'm doing one on video and how people should be using video in business in their life. Like, Eric, I need you to invite every single person that you're friends with on Facebook, but I want you to kind of space it out. Every day, I want you to invite about 100 people, right? By the end of a month, I want you to have invited everybody. And then at the end of a month, the community that we have is now 10,000 people instead of a fledgling 400 and 500 barely starting. When you invite these people, the community has to have content that's valuable, or people will look at it and be like, oh, this is stupid. How did I get here? What is this? I don't want to be here, right? So that's number one. The other part of this is, as you're building the community and people come in, you need to be able to, as soon as they join, send out a welcome message through Facebook. Because Facebook on the right-hand side, on the desktop version, if you're an admin only, says, hey, Eric, you've got 100. It used to be only limited to 100. Now they just opened it up to over 100 2 weeks ago. Now you can say welcome to all the 250 people or more that you just brought in. Well, you click a button on your desktop on the right-hand side of the group if you're an admin, click it, and then it populates everybody. It tags everybody that's new, and it says, let's welcome everybody, right? Something along those lines. Well, you just type in, hey guys, welcome to whatever group. Hope you enjoy it. Here's a link. Visit it, watch the video, or just no link, and just say welcome everybody. Now that just got sent out and everybody starts chiming in. Thank you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. What I like to do it there is I like to ask a specific question that pertains to the group. For us, for real estate, I'm like, hey guys, how long have you been in real estate? Welcome to the group. Let us know. Oh, I've been in it 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. You get more engagement, right? The purpose of doing that is twofold. One, it welcomes them. Number two, more important, if you don't engage with the new members, Facebook sees them as fake members. Do you remember, I don't know if you remember, about a year ago, they purged groups and they cut down groups Groups that were like 50,000 got cut down to 25,000 because people were put into groups without knowing and they were being spammed. That's why, right? Now, one of the things that I do every single day, I welcome everybody because as they engage, Facebook says, got it, they're engaging. And of course, they're going to engage more if you welcome them, right?
Right.
So that's key. And then the other thing is we've worked with other groups, other communities, other businesses where we can work together with them and we can cross promote. That has helped us grow our influence massively over the last years. And we did it by accident. So now I'm telling you to do it by purpose. Now, over the last year, we've been a lot more purposeful with this. We've teamed up with companies like Breakthrough Broker and escrow and title companies. But before, Inman News
Absolutely.
for real estate. So they found us early on and they jumped into our group and they would go through content in our group and then grab pieces that were getting a lot of information and would create blogs out of them.
Right.
And then they would say in their blog, hey, Lab Coat Agent said, and then they put the link there and then we'd get a whole bunch of people joining, right? So we did that by accident, right? Because they just jumped in. But when you cross promote and work with other companies that are in the same field and have a different reach, you grow massively because of it, right? And then obviously be collecting everybody's email, please, as much as you can. You will be able to grow a business with your email because you can't always reach everybody through social. The one thing that's a terrible thing, and I wish it changed, I wish we had some other way of doing it. When we post in our Facebook community, if I post and I don't pin it to the top, in about 10 seconds, it's already down to like the 5th post, right? And if you don't have a lot of engagement in the first place, Facebook's algorithm won't choose you and won't show your post to as many people. So that's one challenging thing. But if you've got everybody's email and you want to deliver the right message, you're able to, because when they're opening up emails, they're only focused on one thing. Email isn't dead. What's sucking is the way that people use email. Too much spam.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's owned audience, borrowed audience. Russell Brunson.
Yeah.
Okay, ClickFunnels. He puts it into a couple of different categories. Your owned audience, which is what you're talking about. Your borrowed audience would be like if you have audience from Facebook, once, because Facebook can literally shut you down. If you own your own audience, then something happens or an algorithm changes. I mean, you're kind of insulated. You've got 120,000 members. Somebody that has 2,000 or 3,000, Facebook could shut you down like that. If you don't have that contact information, you don't own your own audience, you're screwed.
That's right, buddy.
I mean, that's the number one takeaway that I got today is on the welcome message, on the request to join, is make sure you are capturing, if you're going to start a Facebook group, make sure you are capturing that contact information because, I do a daily email to a much smaller group than you do, but I engage with my audience every day. And I get about 40 to 45% open rate on my audience, which if you know anything about emailing, it's a phenomenal rate. But I email every day, basically moving along with sitcom content with my audience.
Your audience, Eric, what is it that your audience focuses on primarily? What is this group about, or your newsletter?
So I do my audience is basically, it's called morningmusings.net. It's basically like a life journey of entrepreneurship, of family. I've written 3 books, of the podcast. Audience members come into me through different channels. And it's really small, but my engagement is huge. My open rate is huge. I've never gone to the route of growing a Facebook group. Mm-hmm. Having you on here for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs is a great way maybe to even start a group with entrepreneurs kind of bouncing stuff off of one another, with the podcast as the backbone of it. I could do something like this daily, interviewing entrepreneurs and business owners within that group, and also sharing benefits, sharing tactics, sharing strategies that are working in, very specific industries. And that's why I wanted to have you on here. I mean, growing, I've always been intrigued about the Facebook group, and having you on here has kind of opened my eyes to it and enlightened me.
Dude, tell me about it. That's just giving me the power to be able to do other things. And I just started in December, end of December, I started another wing of this, but specifically for leadership in all genres here, or all verticals.
Right.
And that's a Brilliant Tribe. So a Brilliant Tribe is a newsletter. Started off as a newsletter, and I'm just giving back. And dude, it's the newsletter has blown up, and now all of a sudden that's creating its own world, right? Separately. So I get you, dude. Yeah, but it all stemmed from that. It all stemmed from that, and then you can start doing other things. We can touch on so much more, dude. But
I love it, man. Let's wrap this up. Tristan, you have been awesome. So how would listeners, viewers find you? You know, if they're not in real estate, I know you do a lot of other things. The Lab Coat Agents is the group on Facebook. There's a couple of different groups: Lab Coat Referrals, Lab Coat Team Leaders. How would people find you?
no, look, easiest thing to do is find me on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. It's Tristan Ahumada. It's spelled Ahumada. Or you can just type in Tristan from Lab Coat
Agents, and I'll pop up on Google, and just message me, text me, do anything if you want to get a hold of me, and I'll get right back to you.
Awesome. Listeners, viewers, I hope you enjoyed Tristan's interview as much as I did. Great guy. If you own a small business, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're passionate, if you have a passion, everybody has a passion. You know,
Yep.
start a group, start a community. It could be 10 people. You could start with, I like white seashells or whatever it is. Start your white
That'd be kind of cool, dude. I want to see that one.
Start your white seashell group and see what you can do and grow a community of like-minded individuals. So Tristan, thank you for joining us today on For Entrepreneurs by Entrepreneurs, episode 6. I am Eric Verdi, and we are out.